Imagine a kingdom so powerful that humans, supernatural beings, and even devils would stand before its king with their hands tied. A throne that could fly with the wind, a force so strong that it could control the voices of birds. Do you know what kind of rule this was? The rule of a king so great that even the strongest empires of that time trembled in his presence. And this throne, was it only made of gold and jewels, or did it hide a mystery that today's science cannot even imagine? This is the story of Prophet Sulaiman, peace be upon him, a king whose kingdom was a masterpiece of creation, not for wealth, not for fame, but to spread the religion of God. But even this mighty king faced a test that could change everything in an instant. A ring, yes, a ring that held the power of his entire kingdom. And one day, that ring was lost, and with it, the throne of Sulaiman, peace be upon him, fell into the hands of a deceiver. Friends, what happened next changed the course of his empire forever. It is a story of trickery, miracles, and the tests of a prophet, a story that most people have never heard before. Do you know how a king lost his throne and then found it again? This is the untold story of Prophet Sulaiman's, peace be upon him, ring. Imagine a kingdom so powerful that even supernatural beings and birds obeyed its king. A kingdom so magnificent that anyone who entered would tremble in awe, feeling the weight of its greatness. This was the kingdom of Prophet Sulaiman, peace be upon him, a kingdom unlike anything the world had ever seen. It was not just wealth or land that made it extraordinary, it was the divine power granted to him by God. God had blessed him with authority over all creation. He could command the supernatural beings, control the winds, and even speak with birds and animals. His army was vast and organized. There were humans, supernatural beings, and birds, all working together under his command, ready to carry out his instructions at any moment. At the very heart of this empire stood his throne, a sight so magnificent it could leave anyone speechless. The throne was carved from ivory and inlaid with precious gems, rubies, pearls, and emeralds so rare they could not be found anywhere else in the world. Around the throne stood 4 golden trees. Their grapes glowed like tiny fires, sparkling and shining as if lit from within, casting a magical light over the throne. When Prophet Sulaiman, peace be upon him, approached, the throne seemed to come alive. Golden peacocks spread their wings, majestic lions moved their legs as if they were real, breathing animals, and the throne itself could rotate gently, welcoming its king. 2 golden vultures would fly down gracefully and place the royal crown upon his head. The air smelled of musk and amber, while pigeons sprinkled fragrant dust with their beaks, creating a divine atmosphere of awe. Everyone who entered the court, no matter how great or how humble, felt a shiver of respect and reverence. When Sulaiman, peace be upon him, recited the words of God, the birds became alert, the wind paused, and the supernatural beings stood perfectly still, honoring the prophet's presence. This was the covenant of God with his prophet, a kingdom of absolute order, harmony, and divine authority. Friends, what made this kingdom truly extraordinary was not the gems, the golden throne, or the immense wealth. Prophet Sulaiman, peace be upon him, never used these blessings for himself. Even with such unimaginable power, he earned his living humbly, making and selling baskets with his own hands. But even the mightiest of kings faced great tests and trials. Have you ever wondered, what makes a king truly powerful? For Prophet Sulaiman, peace be upon him, it was not just his throne, his army, or his kingdom. It was a single ring, a small piece of metal that held immense power over humans, supernatural beings, and animals alike. This was no ordinary ring. It was a blessing from God, a divine gift that gave Sulaiman, peace be upon him, authority over all creation. With this ring, he could command the winds, control the supernatural beings, and even ensure that the laws of nature followed his orders. It was the key to his kingdom, the symbol of his unmatched status as a prophet and a ruler. Whenever Prophet Sulaiman, peace be upon him, needed privacy or went to visit one of his wives, he would take off the ring. He always entrusted it to his most trusted servant, Amina. Knowing that it was safe in her care, she was loyal and wise, and the ring's protection seemed secure under her watch. But on that fateful day, something unexpected and dangerous happened. A shadow moved silently through the palace corridors, unseen by anyone. The ring was about to fall into the hands of a deceiver, a devilish being who had been waiting patiently for years for this very opportunity. This shadow was cunning and intelligent. It had studied the habits of the king and the routines of the palace. And now, at last, it could strike without warning. Friends, imagine this, the fate of the entire kingdom resting on the security of a single ring. If this ring was lost, the devil could take over the throne, and all the balance and harmony that Sulaiman, peace be upon him, had established would be shattered in an instant. Humans, supernatural beings, and birds would obey the wrong master, and the kingdom could descend into chaos. This small ring was not just a piece of jewelry, it was the heart of Sulaiman's. Peace be upon him, authority, a divine instrument that connected him directly to God's guidance and protection. Its loss would be more than a personal problem, it would be a crisis for the entire empire. And that is exactly what made this day so terrifying. The very foundation of the greatest kingdom on earth was about to be tested. A single moment, a single mistake, could change the course of history forever. Friends, this is where the story takes a dramatic turn, and the real test of Prophet Sulaiman's, peace be upon him, wisdom and faith begins. The secret of the ring is not just about power, it is about trust, vigilance, and divine protection. For years, the devil had been patiently waiting, watching every movement of Prophet Sulaiman. Peace be upon him and his palace. He was cunning, clever, and full of malice, planning a single moment that could change the fate of the entire kingdom. Using ancient magic, the devil did something unimaginable. He took the exact form of Prophet Sulaiman. Peace be upon him. The same face, the same voice, the same every detail. No one, not even the most loyal servants, could tell the difference. Silently, he moved through the palace corridors, unseen and unnoticed. He reached Amina, the trusted servant who held the ring, and spoke softly and politely, exactly like Sulaiman, peace be upon him. Amina, who had always trusted her master completely, handed over the ring without hesitation. The moment the devil placed the ring on his finger, something extraordinary happened. A tremendous power surged through him, a force that could command the winds, the supernatural beings, and even the birds of the sky, every creature in the kingdom. Humans, supernatural beings, and animals alike bowed before him, thinking he was the real king. He walked to the throne with confidence, sat down, and claimed the kingdom as his own. The golden throne, the magnificent hall, the shining trees, all obeyed him as if the kingdom itself recognized him as its ruler. Meanwhile, the real Prophet Sulaiman, peace be upon him, arrived, ready to retrieve his ring. But to his shock, no one believed him. All the creatures, the servants, the supernatural beings, they all followed the impostor, convinced he was their master. Friends, imagine this for a moment. A kingdom so powerful, so divinely ordered, taken away in a single instant by a deceiver, a prophet, known for wisdom, courage, and faith, momentarily stripped of his authority. It seems impossible, yet this is exactly what happened. The devil had used trickery, patience, and magic to seize control of the greatest kingdom on earth. And in that moment, the entire empire, the throne, the supernatural beings, the birds, the golden trees, was under the rule of a liar and deceiver. But even in the darkest hour, God's plan is greater. The story is far from over. When the devil seized the ring, everything changed. Prophet Sulaiman, peace be upon him, lost his throne, his authority, and the kingdom he had ruled with wisdom and justice. The palace that once gleamed with gold and jewels was no longer under his command. The supernatural beings, the birds, and even the creatures of the land now obeyed the deceiver. For the first time, the great prophet faced loneliness, hunger, and struggle. The empire that stretched for miles was gone, and the weight of this loss could have crushed any mortal heart. But Prophet Sulaiman, peace be upon him, did something extraordinary. He did not fall into despair. He remained patient, humble, and faithful, knowing that God's help can appear even in the darkest of times. He remembered that no matter how impossible the situation seemed, nothing is impossible for God. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, yet he never gave up hope. He worked quietly, observed carefully, and trusted in God's plan. Even when the world seemed against him, he kept his faith, knowing that true strength comes from patience and reliance on the Creator. Friends, this teaches us an important lesson. Even the greatest prophet, with all his wisdom and blessings, was tested. Even someone who could command the winds, speak to animals, and rule over the supernatural beings had to endure trials. But here is the most important truth. God never abandons his chosen ones, no matter how long the hardship lasts, no matter how overwhelming the challenges become. Divine help arrives at the right moment. The loss of power, the years of struggle, and the deception of the devil were all part of a greater plan, a plan that would restore justice, truth, and the rightful ruler, Prophet Sulaiman's. Peace be upon him. Faith and patience during these dark years became a shining example for all generations. It showed that true power is not found in wealth, thrones, or armies, but in steadfast trust in God. even when everything else is lost. Friends, remember this. Every hardship carries a lesson, and every trial carries hope. One quiet day, Prophet Sulaiman, peace be upon him, walked near the shore. Reflecting on the years of hardship he had endured, he picked up a fish, sat on a stone, and began to clean it for his meal. As he carefully opened the belly of the fish, his fingers brushed against something hard and cold. His heart raced, and his eyes widened with amazement. It was the lost ring, the very same ring that had held the key to his power, the ring that had once controlled the entire kingdom of humans, supernatural beings, and birds. The moment Prophet Sulaiman, peace be upon him, placed the ring on his finger, the world seemed to shift around him. The supernatural beings, who had been under the devil's control, suddenly realized that their true master had returned. The birds, who had flown away in confusion, soared back to their rightful places. Even the wind, which had obeyed the impostor, now blew gently, circling the prophet with reverence. Friends, imagine that moment. A kingdom lost for years, restored in a single instant, not by armies or wealth, but by the return of what was rightfully his. Every creature, every force of nature recognized the real king once again. And yet, the story was far from over. The devil who had stolen the throne, who had deceived the people and ruled with arrogance, was still out there. What happened to him? Did he run away? Was he punished? Or did he try to fight the prophet again? Friends, the fate of the deceiver was about to teach a lesson that would last until the day of judgment. The balance of the kingdom was restored, but the story of justice, divine power, and the consequences of deceit was about to reach its thrilling conclusion. When Prophet Sulaiman, peace be upon him, regained his throne, the entire kingdom breathed a sigh of relief. The true king had returned, and justice was about to be restored. The devil who had stolen the ring, along with all his followers and rebellious devils, was captured immediately. Their deceit, their trickery, and the chaos they had caused would no longer go unpunished. The punishment they received was so severe and enduring that it would serve as a lesson for all of creation until the day of judgment. These rebellious beings were imprisoned in places from which there is no escape, between massive stones and in the deepest, most hidden parts of the sea. Even today, according to the story, they remain there, in Mabuz and Ajab, trapped and powerless, unable to rise or challenge the kingdom again. Friends, think about this for a moment. This punishment was not just about power. It was about justice, balance, and the consequences of betrayal. Even the mightiest beings, even those with cunning and strength, are bound by the law of God. And yet, this story also leaves us with a question. Why did this great test occur in the first place? Why did the devil get a chance to deceive a prophet? Why did the ring leave the hands of Sulaiman, peace be upon him? And why did the kingdom fall into chaos? Friends, this teaches us something truly important. Even the greatest prophets and the most powerful kings are tested by God. Their trials are meant to strengthen their faith, refine their patience, and demonstrate the supremacy of divine wisdom. This was not merely a story of a lost throne or a stolen ring. It was a lesson in vigilance, trust, and the ultimate triumph of truth over deception. Prophet Sulaiman, peace be upon him, showed us that no matter how strong the enemy, justice and divine will always prevail. Friends, the story of the devil's punishment is a reminder. Deceit and rebellion may rise for a time, but truth and faith will always restore balance. When Prophet Sulaiman, peace be upon him, regained his throne, he revealed the deeper wisdom of God. Wisdom that was hidden from everyone at first. Not everyone could immediately understand why such events had unfolded, or why a kingdom so mighty had fallen into chaos. Even the wisest among his companions, like Asif bin Barkaya, remained silent during the entire deception. Asif was no ordinary man. He had knowledge of the holy books and the power to bring the throne of Queen Bilqis in the blink of an eye. He saw what was happening, yet he chose not to interfere, following the divine plan that even the wisest cannot alter. When Prophet Sulaiman, peace be upon him, asked him directly, "Why did you stay silent when you knew the truth?" Asif replied humbly, "O messenger of God, I knew about the fish that swallowed the ring and even its ancestors, but God's command was that this period should pass over you." Friends, reflect on this for a moment. Even the greatest minds, the wisest advisors, cannot change what God has decreed. Even with knowledge, power, and ability, they must trust God's timing and plan. This teaches us a timeless lesson. No matter how much we know or how capable we are, everything happens by the will of God. Sometimes events seem confusing, even unjust, But there is always hidden wisdom behind every trial. Prophet Sulaiman, peace be upon him, showed that true strength lies not just in wealth, power, or miracles, but in faith, patience, and trust in God's divine plan. Friends, the story of Sulaiman's peace be upon him, ring, the devil, and the lost kingdom is more than a tale of power. It is a lesson in humility, patience, and unwavering faith. It reminds us that even when life seems chaotic, and even when deception and trials appear overwhelming, divine wisdom and justice will always prevail. Prophet Sulaiman, peace be upon him, had inherited 1,000 magnificent horses from his father, Prophet Dawood, peace be upon him. But these were no ordinary horses. They were purebred, flawless in beauty, and unmatched in speed. When they stood, they rested gracefully on 3 legs, lifting the 4th delicately, as if a noble prince were presenting himself. One day, Sulaiman, peace be upon him, inspected his horses one by one. The dust from their hooves sparkled like gold in the sunlight, and the sight filled him with joy and admiration. He marveled at their strength, beauty, and readiness for holy struggle in the way of God. But in his fascination, he lost track of time. The sun began to dip behind the horizon, and the time for the afternoon prayer was slipping away. Sweat appeared on his forehead, his heart trembled. He realized he had let his love for these horses distract him from the remembrance of God, the very purpose of his life. In that moment of urgency, Prophet Sulaiman, peace be upon him, prayed with humility and sincerity. My Lord, I chose the love of horses over your remembrance. Please help me. By God's command, an extraordinary miracle occurred. The sun returned to the horizon as if reversing its path, giving him enough time to perform his prayer properly. Once Sulaiman, peace be upon him, completed his afternoon prayer, the sun set again, and the stars began to shine in the sky, just as they should. This miraculous event is known as Rad Shams, the return of the sun. It was a special gift from God to his prophet, a reminder that divine mercy and guidance always accompanied those who sincerely turned to God. And as for the horses, Prophet Sulaiman, peace be upon him, did not punish them. He treated them with care and respect, cleaning, grooming, and massaging them, because they were dedicated to holy struggle in the way of God. They were noble creatures, and he honored their purpose, showing that a prophet never harms the innocent, even in moments of human error. Friends, this story teaches us an important lesson. Even the greatest of men can make small mistakes, but true wisdom lies in turning back to God with sincerity, and miracles may follow in ways beyond imagination. After all the trials, the tests, and the years of struggle, Prophet Sulaiman, peace be upon him, stood before God with a heart full of humility and devotion. He bowed his head in prostration, acknowledging that all power, all knowledge, and all guidance come only from God. With complete sincerity, he prayed, "O God, forgive me for any mistakes I may have made, knowingly or unknowingly." And then, with the same humble heart, he asked for something extraordinary. "Grant me a kingdom that no one after me will ever deserve, a kingdom full of justice, wisdom, and blessings, unlike anything the world has ever seen." Friends, imagine the moment, a prophet, tested by loss, deception, and hardship, turning back to God with complete trust and receiving a blessing that surpasses imagination. His kingdom was not just vast or rich. It was perfect in justice, full of wisdom, and overflowing with divine blessings. Everything he ruled was guided by God, ensuring that truth and fairness reigned over every corner of his empire. This story teaches us a powerful lesson. True greatness is not measured by wealth, thrones, or armies. It comes from humility, obedience, and reliance on God. Even after facing the toughest trials, even the greatest kings and prophets had to endure challenges, but they turned to God with sincerity, and that is what brought them eternal success. Friends, Prophet Sulaiman's, peace be upon him, story is a timeless reminder. No matter how difficult life's trials may seem, faith, patience, and complete trust in God can restore what is lost and bring blessings beyond imagination. His life shows us that divine wisdom and mercy always follow those who remain steadfast, and that true power lies not in ruling others, but in serving God with a humble heart. Friends, now we come to the question that has puzzled generations. Was the ring of Prophet Sulaiman, peace be upon him, truly real, or was it simply a symbol of his immense power? Was it a miracle from God himself, a divine gift unlike anything humans or supernatural beings could ever comprehend? Or was it a story meant to teach us lessons about faith, trust, and obedience? Scholars and believers have debated this for centuries, Some insist the ring was real, a tangible object that held the authority of an entire kingdom. Others say it was symbolic, a representation of how true power belongs to God alone and how even the greatest must remain humble and obedient. Some see it as a reflection of the miraculous nature of God's will, showing that He can grant authority, take it away, and restore it with perfect timing. The reality is, no one can answer this with absolute certainty. But that is the beauty of the story. It is not just about a ring. It is about the lessons hidden within, the wisdom behind the trials, and the reminders it leaves for us today. Whether the ring was real or symbolic, the story gives us a profound truth. True power comes only from God. Even the mightiest kings, the wisest leaders, and the most blessed prophets are tested there. Wealth, authority, and influence are temporary. Faith, patience, and trust in God are eternal. Think about it, friends. If even Prophet Sulaiman, peace be upon him, with all his blessings, armies, and miracles, faced deception, loss, and hardship, what does that tell us about the challenges we face in our own lives? It reminds us to remain patient in trials, humble in success, and always trust in God's plan, no matter how impossible the circumstances seem. So, whether you see the ring as a physical object or a lesson in faith, the story of Prophet Sulaiman, peace be upon him, teaches us a timeless truth. Strength, greatness, and true leadership come not from wealth or power, but from obedience, humility, and unwavering trust in God. Friends, this is a lesson we can all carry into our daily lives, a reminder that even in our darkest moments, divine wisdom and mercy are always at work. Friends, let me ask you this. What truly makes someone great? Is it wealth, power, a massive kingdom, or armies that obey at a command? Or is it something deeper, something unseen, yet far more powerful? Prophet Sulaiman, peace be upon him, was not great because of gold, jewels, or his magnificent throne. He was not great because he could command supernatural beings, control the wind, or talk to animals. His greatness came from something far more profound: his obedience to God, his unwavering faith, and complete trust in the divine plan. Every trial he faced was a lesson for all humanity. Losing the ring, being deceived by the devil, the test of the 1,000 noble horses, and even the unexpected birth of his son. Each challenge taught humility, patience, and reliance on God. Friends, the story of Prophet Sulaiman, peace be upon him, teaches us timeless truths. True strength comes only from God, not from wealth, status, or authority. Obedience and trust in God are far more valuable than any human power. Patience in trials is the key to overcoming even the most impossible challenges. Miracles happen for those who remained faithful, sincere, and humble before God. Remember this, even the greatest kings and prophets were tested by God. Their greatness did not lie in what they controlled, but in how they responded to trials. With faith, wisdom, humility, and trust in God, friends, let this story inspire each of us. Let it remind us to trust God in every challenge, to remain patient when life tests us, and to stay humble even in success. Because true greatness, the kind that lasts beyond this world, is not measured in treasures or thrones. It is measured by faith, obedience, and the strength of the heart that relies solely on God. So, when life challenges you, when difficulties seem overwhelming, remember the lessons of Prophet Sulaiman. Peace be upon him. Trust in God, stay patient, act with humility, and watch how the divine plan unfolds in ways you could never imagine. Friends, this is more than a story. It is a guide to life, a roadmap to faith, and a reminder that true power lies with God alone. If you found this story amazing, then subscribe now and press the bell icon so you can be the first to discover more hidden secrets and incredible stories. And do not forget to share it with your friends so they do not miss out on this amazing knowledge and inspiration. Comment below and tell us, which prophet story would you like to hear next? Your suggestion will help us create the next video.